to blowing off steam, people. We got our first Asian finally. We're progressive people.
Yes,
Uh,
I am Asian. Thank you, Omar, for
okay,
noticing.
that's why I'm here. I understand now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man,
For diversity, I see.
Netflix said you guys need one diversity hire if you want to get on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you're from Russia and also you're in Norway, so all the diversity, we're putting it, in one person.
Yeah, I'm
You're like,
from an ethnic minority in Russia and like national minority. Uh, I guess outside Russia, nobody knows about me, and inside Russia, kind of the same.
no, inside of Russia, nobody cares about you. That's the
Yeah,
difference. Yeah.
they would like the Russian TV and stand up would prefer to get someone like a Kazakh guy to represent Asians, but not like Russian Asians. You know what I mean?
You're kind of in a weird place where like Russians don't think that you're Russian and Kazakhs don't think that you're Kazakh. Like
Yeah.
No,
nobody
they
wants.
do. I was in Kazakhstan and everyone assumed that I'm Kazakh, so they start speaking Kazakh with me.
And then
And you start speaking English fluently.
Yes, it's easier. Yeah.
oh, that's good. So today we're joined by Nikolai. I'm not gonna even say his last name.
Oh, Bakhalkhanov, right?
Bakhalkhanov, yeah.
Yeah, not bad for a foreigner.
Not
Thank you.
bad for a foreigner.
I
Yeah,
kept
yeah.
on practicing from 4 years ago.
Yeah, your
Although,
skills to call stand-up comedians names actually, yeah.
Mm.
MC.
basically, and mess up your names, and you guys improvise on your names.
Yeah, I have one joke about my name. It's been almost 5 years old, I think, or six.
Fucking hell, man. Wow.
Celebrating anniversary of a joke.
Mine is 8, so we're
Your birthday or your
About
name?
your dinner name, yeah.
yes.
Ah, yeah, damn. Oof. 8 years, yeah. My
And you
jokes
know
are
what's the
young.
problem with that joke is that in Russia, hosts used to say it right before I get on stage.
Yes, it's
So,
the same. Actually, I the same way I got my joke. It's like I stole it from the host, basically.
Ah, really?
Yes.
you know what,
It was a roasting joke. Now it's ironic.
Nice, nice.
Nikolai? Here's my question for you. What's the difference between comedian Nikolai now and comedian Nikolai 2 years ago?
Uh, like in Moscow in English comedy, I think I had like at least one or two open mics, and it was like routine. But at the same time, we all both know that there is a huge censorship in Russia, and like I couldn't joke about anything I wanted, And here I'm just like, yeah, I can say anything I want, and I don't care. That's probably the main thing. And then the second one is that I need to brag a little that I finished my master, right? And I wrote a master thesis about stand-up. So I am now like an academic, I know comedy from fucking science perspective.
What
Nice.
you just copied one book and you said, "Here's my thesis." Good luck, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it can be a book, really. Like this cinema critic Anton Dolin, who wrote a book about bad Russians now. It's like the history of Russian cinematography from when the Putin came to power. I'm afraid that now you won't be able to publish your podcast, guys.
Yeah, it's fine, man. You're not the first one
Yeah,
to.
no one is gonna see that anyway. So you're safe. I'm saying that like he published a book about the history of Russian cinematography from like when Putin came to power and like how it's been used for propaganda. So I basically did almost the same, but in Russian speaking stand up, but after the war started.
Ah.
Oh,
It's
you
like
mean
analyzing.
Well, you said that like in Russia there was a lot of censorship and you couldn't talk about what you wanted, but in English stand-up there is no censorship. Or do you still feel like there is?
I don't know. It's like for me, it feels like there is some mayor, some FSB guy sitting and someone will come after me.
you know you
Really?
know what's funny about this? I remember in one venue where we like performed uh,
Hmm.
right after the war, special operations, whatever it is, like started. Right after it, yeah. we get like I go there to perform, and they instantly tell me, "Don't say any political jokes."
Exactly, yeah. It can happen, you know, you never know. That's the point. Like,
And here's the point, and here's another thing about maybe this happened like maybe less than a year ago, is they changed one guy there like a bouncer, and
yeah.
this guy totally doesn't look like a bouncer. Like he's too good looking. His shoes are too nice to look like a
Yeah,
bouncer,
yeah,
you know? And all the time when we were performing, he would be sitting there just watching us.
yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
I remember, I don't know how true the story is because I don't know how trustworthy the guy who told me the story is, but like he was saying he was performing in Spanish because he runs the Spanish stand-up. Let's not say his name. And he goes, he goes, he was talking about like he did some stuff about like the war, or he said the war, not special operations. And then he goes, "There's this one hot FSB agent that told me, just came up to me and goes, she goes, you have to say special operations." And then he just that's all he said about it. And then he starts talking about how she sucked his dick in the toilet. And I'm like, really? Like, it just sounds fake, you know? I don't know.
But it's even if you don't believe that there are like FSB guys, you know, sitting, it's still that you are not able to post anything on social media because you also have some kind of fear, you know, of prosecution, and then you have to think, oh, what is correct way? Yeah, special military operations to end of the war. So it's about this pressure, inside pressure that you have also,
But,
you know.
but doesn't it give you kind of like this drive to not censor, let's say hide what you're saying, but you get what I'm saying, like make it a bit obvious slash hide it, you know, to say basically to say, yo, I'm talking about you, but I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, like one of the Russian comedians, Kostya Pushkin, in his special, like I even analyzed one of his bits that uh, he was just pretending like, yeah, I have some protest mood, you know, that I can't express, but you know, you can't call a spade in Russia, that. So I will be calling all spade not a spade. And then he just like uses some kind of animals and like
Mm,
vegetables, but then at the end, you know, of you understand, because he uses like a phrase about Sabanian, you know, I will eat a burger for Sabanian, but instead of burger, like I will eat a mutton for a
Yeah,
carrot for the mutton, something like that. And you understand that he still implies that, you know, his position, not actually stating that. That's
mm,
cool, but not all comedians are so smart as Kostya Pushkin. That's first thing, you know. And the second one is like, yeah, not all has the same level of like reputation and goodwill, you know, to and not allowed, you know, to steal. Because like smaller guys, like without attention, would be could be prosecuted for smaller things.
yes.
And like in Norway, I would agree that yeah, it kind of makes you think, but at the same time, I don't know. But why?
Well, you know what? There's a like one of points I it always came to my head is like if you're afraid from a guy on stage, or if your government or regime is afraid of words, your regime is it's not that good. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah. It's it's the test for democracy and every state. Like, what's the border, you know, of the
mm,
allowed? You can say like, and also I feel like Russian stand-up, a lot of people because it's been only 20 years, you know, and it was immediately basically used by the mainstream media like TNT, you know. It's never
mm,
been like liberal and democratic. Like we still, I mean, Russia still doesn't have like huge independent YouTube channels. Now it's like, yeah, a lot of comedians become independent. You know, they have their own tours, also around CIS countries. After the war started, right? They fled Russia to kind of
mm,
start their independent careers. But like how the stand-up started, like what's the ideology in the US, like the George Carlin, Lenny Bruce, the
Mm-hmm.
fight for the freedom of speech, the seven bad words, but in Russia and in mainstream comedy, it's just became like these guys on stage who tell jokes about the difference between men and women and like, oh, my observation in Taxi, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, but my question is, so in Norway, is there nothing you can't joke about? Like,
It's more about like yeah, like sexism. If you, it's about punching down. It's like you would never, I think, get booed by the audience or like canceled, but it's more like this control of maybe not shame, but like that you can't say certain things because then you would have some backlash. Like you can't be sexist too much, right? Or homophobic, right?
uh,
Obviously homophobic. Because maybe I was trying being ironically homophobic, but because I'm straight, it's still like um,
still, yeah.
to find the ground, right? To find the angle, right? To joke about it.
But
Mm-hmm.
but then that gets you a small problem in analyzing your not analyzing, sorry, like in writing your jokes at the beginning, because
Yeah,
like every joke at the beginning sounds like an opinion, basically. People mistake it for
true.
an
Yeah,
opinion,
right.
you know?
It's like,
And
mhm.
yeah,
Now the irony is, is it can be misunderstood,
Mm.
yeah. And my question, since you said like you have like your master's basically was in stand up, or was it analyzing stand up or stand up in general, or how it's like what exactly was the
Basically, the main research question is like, does stand up for social justice? And then I like created analytical framework basically to judge a joke, with the reference to a certain group identity. It can be like race, nation, gender, sexuality, so like, or class even,
Mm-hmm.
anything, right? And then, yeah, I analyzed content in Russian speaking stand up.
okay. And so you take a joke, what's your process of analyzing that joke?
Mhm. I was taking YouTube Shorts, like one of the most popular, among comedians, both inside now Russia and outside. And then I see what are they referring to. So sometimes they can refer to their own identity, right? Like I'm Russian and I make a self-ironic, deprecating joke, roasting. Or sometimes I'm referring to these Iranian guys, right? And it's more like they are target of the joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or in something, yeah, or maybe the audience. So it doesn't matter. Like the direction is kind of matters, but it starts all with just a reference to certain identity, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to analyze what's the type of relationships between those identities, because sometimes the main question is like whether it's a positive and affiliative, that creates this kind of positive bond. We kind of both know that, we probably, you also know or feel that laughter is this very bonding mechanism, right, between people. And for me, it was really a huge revelation that there is recently. Sorry, do you want to
Oh,
ask a
no, no, no,
question?
no, no.
Yeah, like this one was like mind blowing for me because I always felt that it is something like that, but that laughter evolutionary was developed among like human species as a mechanism for social bonding. It's basically when we laugh together, it's like we sing in a chorus together and some kind of endorphins are released. But at the same
Oh.
time, not every laughter is the same. Sometimes in a like a small society, I mean, in a tribe, right? We can joke at someone from the more like superior position, and there is this superiority theory of laughter. So and then the inferior primate, person, human being, also can laugh, but just to kind of appease the more superior and stronger person. So then this type of laughter is not equal, you know. It's not about equality. It's about someone mocking, you
Hierarchy.
know. Yeah,
Mm.
an hierarchy, exactly. But sometimes it's more about like friendly relationships. Sometimes you have a friend and you just like, oh, fuck you, you know. It's aggressive humor, but it's more equal.
Mm-hmm.
So what's so interesting, like what you said, I don't know, maybe in your research, like because I heard Jimmy Carr and then I read more about it. It's, for example, when Hitler came to power, one of the
Yeah.
main things he did is he closed cabarets or like entertainment places
Mm-hmm.
because they were usually run and performed by Jews.
Hmm.
And yeah, and the concept was if you laugh with someone, you agree with them, you don't hate them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's what it's a lot of immigrants, you know, if you look at the US, for example, and they use humor about their identity to kind of integrate into the society and find their representation. Like in Norway, actually, an external supervisor of my thesis, he is also like comedy scholar, and he wrote a paper about playful recognition that it like they have this show in Norway, svart humor, black humor, where like black immigrants, you know, they ask each other questions about the Norwegian culture, and they kind of joke basically about themselves, you know, that they are integrated or not integrated, you know, and it's still on like on national TV, right? So and through this way they get this recognition in the society that they exist here, you know.
Mm.
um yeah, and overall I see many like black comedians in Norwegian TV, you know, like first, second
They
generation
are called
immigrants,
European Africans, please,
European Africans.
or not.
Okay. Okay.
No,
And
Afro-Europeans, man. That's what they're
yeah,
called. Afro-Europeans, yeah.
Afro-Europeans.
Euro,
Oh.
I'm
Euro Afrikaans. Okay, got it. Never mind.
okay, I apologize.
No,
Uh,
no, it's not about it. Yeah, there's something which I like. There's a quote again. I forgot who said it, but they would say when laughter grows in a country, that means that that country it's on its way for a dictatorship. Do you agree?
Hmm.
In your research, did you like find something about this?
It's an interesting idea, actually. There's this also theory of release, like when you have tension, you know, and the more suppressed you are, basically, the more laughter you would have. But I don't know, but the more laughter you have, the
Oh,
closer you
let's
are to
call humor.
dictatorship.
The more humor there is in a society, that
Yeah.
society is kind of getting oppressed or under oppression.
I mean, there's a lot of laughter in the US, you know
yeah,
what I
yeah, that
mean?
was my also argument. Like,
Now, here's my point. If we look at back, for example, Lenny Bruce, because like he's the comedian I kind of read a little bit about.
Yeah.
I, something he said, which my father once said to me before I came to Russia.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, don't talk politics. I went in prison for you and our whole family together, you know? Don't fucking do anything about politics. And it's a funny story about him. Whenever he came back to Jordan, because he was kind of like, let's say, a freedom fighter,
Yeah.
he fought against my freedom. But anyways, uh, that like so each time the plane lands here in Jordan, okay, when he goes like to the customs, they would tell him, "Today is holidays. Go, like have fun with your family. We'll come pick you up."
Mhm.
You know. And here leads me to Lenny Bruce, as Lenny Bruce went to prison for comedy to grow.
Right.
Oh shit, I didn't know about that part. Like
Yeah,
he,
I
for
know
what?
something about Lenny Bruce that he would do a joke like after his like shows, he would go out and straight to jail.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's cool, I think. Yeah. Good
Yeah, that's real
publicity.
gangster.
Like,
Yeah, and one thing that happened recently in Russia, I don't know if you know about like comedian Dima
Yeah,
Gavrilov.
yeah, yeah, I know, yeah.
Happened with him. Uh, like it was funny for me his apology because I watched the clip and it was clearly cut.
so wait,
Hmm.
what happened? What happened? So he got into
Yeah,
trouble for
like
a joke?
Yeah. He
Oh,
had a joke. He was touring in Russia, but before he was like living in Georgia, I think, and he had
Yeah.
a joke that he doesn't feel Russophobia in Georgia, so he wrote on his own wall, "Russians go home."
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and basically for that, he was accused of Russophobia himself or something like that, I think.
He was accused of insulting the Russian people and
Yeah.
slash or insulting the Russian police.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's actually basically a joke about Russophobia in Georgia, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you watched his apology.
I
His
did.
apology was one of the funniest things I've read. It's basically what he said was like, I apologize to the Russian people or the Russian police. I don't know exactly what my apology is, but one of them.
Mm.
Yeah, it's better to apologize, like just in case.
You know, I like the thought that he went this or that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what
It's like similar, like the only story I have is just like the Tony Hinchcliffe where he made fun of an Asian guy or like a Chinese guy. Like he said he called him a chink or whatever, which is apparently like a racist thing to tell an Asian. And he goes, people wanted him to apologize, and he goes, I had comedians, like big name comedians, telling me never apologize for a joke, and he didn't apologize for the joke. I think.
Yeah, well, in the US, from my point of view, which I am not in the US, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like an Arab thing. We have an opinion about everything. And like my point is, at one point in the US, it became, I don't want to say taboo, it just became like a black dot on your history that you say something, and people would take that and blow it up, you know? And after they blow it up, the problem was not with the people, to be honest, because everybody has their own opinion, and stand-up is subjective, or not with the joke. The problem was with the people who, let's say, advertisers or people who like had the money, they would pull that money in fear of people not buying tickets, basically.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. It's still political war basically, yeah, but it's just through different means. It's like in Russia you can get physically, arrested and whatever, but in the US it's more like financial, right, power and
Ah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
attention power. It's like yeah, okay, like some streaming platforms that hold the power, they would not, they would just cancel you, they would not just give you the contracts and the attention, right? Look at the Dave Chappelle. Who is he joking about? Like transgenders? Wow, bro, so brave.
Well, for me, in the Dave Chappelle case, what I always like to think, because the word stand-up, stand-up comedy, stand-up, it's either you stand up for something or against something. Yeah. And
Interesting.
it's for him, why does he joke about it? Because this idea of the trans thing, whatever it is, it became so prominent and so powerful, it had to be criticized,
Uh-huh.
but in joke form, basically.
You know what you said just about stand-up is like stand-up was not named to stand up for something or against, actually. At the beginning, it was, I think, cabaret theater, and then in between there was a guy who was standing up and telling jokes. So it was not about
Yes,
like
yes.
political at all.
I romanticize it more. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing is, if you look at, like, also like an idea is that prophets, or people who stood out, let's say,
Right.
in a way, they were the first stand-up comedians because the things that they use were like basically stand-up comedy tools, let's say,
Yeah.
stand-up comedians tool. For example, this is going to be a weird example. Hitler.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah,
listen,
yeah.
you listen to his speeches. This is literally you're there and you're like, this is exactly what we use. We use similes,
Yeah, yeah.
comparisons,
Yeah, sure.
everything. So that's where it came from. That idea, it's standing up, blah blah blah.
Like
Uh,
you saying this about Hitler actually like made me write one of my jokes, which never works, unfortunately. Which I say like,
Is it
uh,
still a joke if it never works?
to me it is. I think it's funny. The joke is like, my friend told me that Hitler's speech patterns were similar to comedians, and I think Hitler would have been a great comedian because he would warm up the room. And it never works, but I really love it. It's
Okay.
I like the joke. It's
Here's,
just
here's,
fucked up.
here's, here's my question for Nikolai because now he's a scholar in
in
comedy.
stand-up, yeah.
I'm gonna put this on you, man. It's you don't have any say in it. What's your what's your thought of why people don't laugh at that joke?
That joke about Hitler and
Yes.
yeah, it's very important. Like the identity of a person, of the audience is actually very important. Who you are telling the joke to. Like, for example, in Russia, you have Ruski, the White Russians, right?
Hmm.
And I like, but just yesterday I saw an Instagram reel of Varnava, I think, what's her name? Comedian, like Zhensky stand-up, female stand-up. And she was joking like, "Oh, I've noticed that Ruski, the White Russian people, are so good at surfing. It's just because we always, on a train." But and of course she uses this Ruski identity because the majority of the audience is Ruski to kind of give them a little bit of a compliment. But at the same time, it's actually a racist thing to because there are so many ethnic national minorities in Russia, right? But at the same time, but this joke is giving, is praising the majority. But if you in Kazakhstan, for example, there is this comedian, fuck's sake, what's his name? Uh, yeah, Yakut comedian, right?
Hmm.
He had a monologue on the Almaty stand-up YouTube channel, and there he's joking that the Ruski people, oh, they smell, It's more about mocking, and the Kazakh audience is laughing at it because it's like, yeah, we are laughing at someone else at the out group.
But even the joke about like Russians are good at surfing because they ride the train a lot. It's not even a like well, to me it's not even a good joke because it can be said by any group that rides the train. Oh, New
Yeah,
Yorkers are
exactly.
good at surfing because they ride the train a lot. Cairo Egyptians are good at surfing. Any person that rides the train is.
Yeah, it's just because she's inside Russia and she's creating comedy for the Russian audience.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, there's one thing. So has it ever been for you, like since you're performing now in Norway, a point where you do a joke and you notice that the audience draw back from that joke?
Sorry, do what?
They draw back. They're like they like you, and then you do this joke, and they instantly like you can feel their whole posture just go.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I don't understand why this joke doesn't work. I'm just like, you can't go inside people's mind, right? And for example, yeah, I like also the joke I like is when I say like I'm trying to be a gentleman and I know pussy eating etiquette. Like put the napkin, don't slurp, fork in the left, knife in the right, and then I say like, so I'm actually good at eating pussy. I know this method of alphabet.
Uh,
Um, when you write letters with your tongue, and once it saved my life because I wrote SOS.
uh-huh.
For me, it's just funny joke, right? But maybe it's in general doesn't work. But I feel like maybe because I tell pussy, from my straight heterosexual perspective, I don't know, and it's kind of sounds sexist, because I am. If I was gay, maybe it would have been hilarious. I don't know.
You know what? I love the thought that the audience in front of you are all old women.
Oh, that's also the case, bro. I performed once at the university. They invited me to joke at the Christmas party, like
Hmm.
not stand-up event, and I was scared to tell my sex jokes. Actually, you've seen probably you remember these jokes about sex education and where I say like my Soviet grandmother used to close my eyes, when there
Imagine,
was a
imagine
kissing scene in the movie,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and then I say like, yeah, I don't know why she was watching porn with me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was just afraid to tell these sex jokes because the audience was like 50, 60 years old scholars, In Russia, it would have been like shameful,
Hmm.
They I w- they would definitely wouldn't like it, I think.
So you didn't end up doing the joke, yeah? You didn't do that joke in front of them.
I did. I
And
started the sex jokes and it landed, and after that, I just kept telling them because here in Norway, sexual revolution happened. I don't know, like 70s,
what the fuck is a sexual revolution?
that everyone fuck with each other.
Ah,
Nobody cares, right?
Norway. I'm coming soon.
This hookup culture,
No, no pun intended by coming, by the way. Yeah.
Same thing kind of happened to me with this when I was performing in Russian. I got invited to perform in like a small theater, like an 80-seater.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. So I had my jokes, I written them, and they have like swear words and everything.
Hmm.
And so we're sitting in the front, and I look to the back, and like people are coming in, like awesome. I look to the back, and it's all old women
Hmm.
who came like to watch a theater play. They didn't even come to watch stand-up. I don't know what did they put on the advertising? You will get free bananas. I don't get it. You know? And they all were sitting there, and I go look behind us like, oh my god, none of these jokes are gonna work. And
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
the host gets on stage, does six jokes. His whole like host think it's just six jokes, and they're just like, "Oh, yeah." I look at the comedian next to me. I forgot his name, and I go, listen, man, now we're gonna have to censor every word I have.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to tell me every like kind of swear word, but old Russian swear word.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, also Russian stand-up, it basically grew up looking at comedians like Louis C.K., right? Jimmy Carr. And there is a lot of like Jimmy Carr style comedians inside Russia who tries the same style and they just bomb just because it's too much. You
Yeah.
kind of transgress the border too much for that particular society.
And you know what I also think? It's the idea, one idea we were once talking about, which was alternative comedy in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just like a small phrase I always like repeat, which is everybody wants to be Stuart Lee, but they haven't gone into 25 years of Stuart Lee.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay, what do you mean?
Like
they
they're
want,
skipping steps, basically.
Ah, right, yeah.
Like it took Stuart Lee 25 years to become Stuart Lee, and they just want to do it
But at
overnight.
this, yeah, but at the same time, maybe it's not about Stuart Lee. Maybe it's about the society, the British society that has had stand up for, I don't know, 50 years.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah. True, true. But it's the idea. It's like how Omar said they try to jump it.
Yeah.
Like there's steps for like not steps, a process for it. Until like I can see, and they want to do historically awkward like
It's
delivery
like
and
self-referring comedy, basically, right? Something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
and he does like this hidden like social commentary, which is also self-referring, which is fucking awesome, which full of callbacks, full of everything.
yeah,
But my point is why I'm saying they didn't go through the 25 years of Stuart Lee, which is Stuart Lee, the audience he performs for came for Stuart Lee.
exactly.
Mm.
You need to, you need to get along, like you need to also commit, like as an audience, you need to believe in this character and understand that it's a character on stage.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. This is actually very interesting that I don't know you guys I think you get this a lot, which is people when they come they don't get who you are on stage is you, but dial to 1,000. Yeah.
And not necessarily so sometimes, right? It can be so different. It can be not you at all.
Yes, yes,
So the point here that people don't understand that it's a theater.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And because sometimes people, I know that some comedians who believe that it's like, oh, I don't want to go unreal. I was trying to write with some I don't want to sound like, snobbish, that with beginner comedians. And they were like, oh, I don't want to include anything unreal into I want to be real on stage. There's the idea that you go on stage and tell true.
Same thing, man, happened to me. Like again, I don't want to sound snobbish. I was writing with beginner comedians because I have to. I run the,
I
and
like that
man,
he said because I have to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, man, and it's like it's so annoying when they tell you like it should be real. Like I hate the
Yeah.
phrase "stand up is funny when it's real." I hate it.
Yeah.
I even tried to make a joke about it, also never worked. But I'm realizing a pattern here, by the way. I make a joke, does not work.
Yeah.
Mm. But yeah, and you want to know the most annoying thing about the audience is this. Like sometimes I might joke about pedophilia and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and people are drawn back. But my point is, I'm not making fun of the kids getting fucked. I'm making
Uh-huh.
fun of the pedophiles. Why aren't you laughing? Like I have this bit where I talk about how it's weird that pedophiles say to kids, "You're mature for your age." Because
Hmm.
if you want someone mature for your age, you can fuck adults. And people
Hmm.
are drawn back by this statement.
I think it's just not funny.
No, no, well, no, no, I didn't do the joke. I just
Okay,
gave you the
yeah,
premise. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
I
see, I
gave you the
see.
premise.
Like, like,
Yeah, it's sometimes in Russia that also happened to me. I invited a friend to actually to the gig that we did at stand-up store, and my friend after that is like, "Oh, are comedians not improvising? It's like, is it like real? Like, but they just don't understand that it's all scripted.
Ah,
both of it for what I agree. One
Yeah.
thing is, which is interesting is they think they think, for example, like after a show, they would come to you, for example, and they would tell you, "Is that exactly how you should eat pussy?" And you're like, "Motherfucker."
oh
Yeah.
man, same thing. I did like like it was one guy. Abed knows him. You probably don't know him because you missed him out. But this guy, he has this one story. He tells it all the time about how he went to America and he was a cock
Hmm.
for a porn shoot. And when people ask him, "Is this story true?" He says yes, and which in reality it's not true at all. And I did one joke as well. Like I forgot what it was about, but one person from the audience yells out, "Oh, is that true?" And I'm like, "No, it's a fucking joke."
Hmm.
Like,
How can I ask you in Norway? Like, so you perform in? Do you know like Norwegian language? I don't know what's the Norwegian language. You don't know.
I mean, I know, but it's hard for me to perform. I have a couple of jokes in Norwegian, but it's just everyone knows English here. You can just go to any open mic and perform in English. It's not a problem.
also you go to
Uh,
open mics, like, and you just perform in English. That's how you do it, or what?
Yeah, yeah.
So there are no English open mics in Norway.
Yeah, there are, but significantly less.
Ah, gotcha.
um, the thing is for so like when you're doing like your jokes or whatever, um, how is the reaction to the audience? Have you noticed like some things that they would cackle about? Like for example, we're talking about Russia. Something I noticed about Russians when they laugh at jokes, if it's culture, like it has to be very culturally relevant to what they are, and the joke will be louder.
Mm,
Let's say this. Even if it's a simple like joke, which simple, not simple, whatever, but the joke would be louder. What I'm trying to say is, how is the phrase comedy savvy?
what? Comedy what?
Comedy savvy. It's
Hmm.
when the audience, like a British audience or an American audience, they already went to stand-up mics. They already like watch stand-up comedy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So how experienced are they in watching stand-up comedy? Let's say.
Uh, it's hard to say for me but I think they are kind of experienced because, yeah, because they are also integrated into more like Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
music, and therefore stand up, I think, as well. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to make my comedy international.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm trying to avoid some just only Norwegian references, or if I use them, then only like super in general, right?
Mm.
That would other countries, understand.
So
No.
you talk about IKEA a lot.
Yeah, IKEA is Swedish,
I
bro.
know, man. I know. That was the joke.
Ah, that was a joke, bro. Okay.
It flew over my head. Sorry.
I
Okay.
just, yeah, for that joke to work, I need to believe that you are actually smart in
Ah, sorry.
geography.
Ah, man, fuck.
Nikolai has hands. Nikolai has legs. Nikolai is punching.
Nice.
Sorry,
But
bro.
actually, I remember last time we spoke with each other, me and you, Nikolai. You
Yeah.
were talking about you wanted to film a special or something and put it out on YouTube.
Yeah,
How's
I still want for sure. I think I have like 20 minutes, but the problem is that I don't have much stage time now. I came in Oslo and I like for 1 month I was actively performing and it was very efficient month. I wrote like 5 new minutes, of a material that is actually hard to incorporate into the special because it's like, sometimes you have just random jokes, you know.
mm-hmm.
But it's just I have an idea that for now I have like 15 minutes that kind of flow, and it just feels so good when it's connected, right? And then all of a sudden I don't want to go back into this one-liner style, that's not connected. But maybe I should not care about that, right? And but now it's like I work in the evening, so I don't have time to test my material. That's the problem, right? That I
Mm-hmm.
need to find you. I also need to find some kind of a day job, like as a barista. I don't know, and that's the one thing. The second one, yeah, that's the main thing. That's it. That's
So
the main problem right now.
yeah, but so now because you're on a visa, yeah,
Yes.
but you can still work easily. You can still find job.
I have job seeking visa to find a qualified job and but I can work, yeah.
Ah, damn. So man, I thought Norway was like one of those, like places that has jobs for everyone. Thought it would be
That's
easy.
true. That's kind of true. Yes, it's not hard to find a job at a hotel restaurant, It took me like no, actually, I mean, I was not really trying to find it hard, but I was already had almost a panic attack. I was like, okay, yeah, I had to go to Kazakhstan because I was running out of money and I was spending too much, in Oslo here. But then I just found a job now and it's kind of fine. Uh, it's just yeah, you kind of it seems that you make a lot in comparison to other countries, but like if you are here inside, then it's expensive to leave, cost of living, food and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
When you're on your way to an open mic, what's in your head? Like like you're going there to perform 5 minutes. What
Yeah.
what what's in your head for those 5 minutes? Like, do you aim for okay, I want these 5 minutes to work or this 1 minute? You get what I'm saying? Like for example, commuting from one place to the open mic. What's the process in your head?
I mean, just go on stage to test jokes. I'm not going there to improvise or like crowd work to waste this time. Or like
Mm-hmm.
I know that my aim is to record a special. So then I am just like, okay, even like when I test jokes, I'm just like, okay, I kind of will be able to incorporate it somehow. I don't want to waste my time on some kind of directions
Yeah.
that is irrelevant for me. And yeah, I don't know, I just rehearse.
Okay.
I think I developed this system. Like I tried, I think maybe even together with you, I tried like 5 stages system, like raw and material. Then I'm just moving it to the next stage,
Yeah.
the medium rare, well done,
Mm-mm.
and now it's more like a
Burnt.
raw. Sorry.
Then it's burnt. You're like, wow.
Yeah, when it's burnt and it's like when you tell one joke for 8 years and it's just like I've burned this joke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Or you use this joke that all the people in the audience already know this joke. All the people that are coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so in Norway, in the open mics, do you get like repeat customers, repeat audience members who already heard your jokes before?
No, I don't think yeah, it's cool. No, I mean it's a small place, but it's like in English, if it's English stand up, like maybe a lot of tourists. Yeah.
mm.
Or just people go out, and it's always different people. So,
I'm in Jordan. Everybody, when we go out, we're stuck in traffic. Man,
yeah.
you cannot imagine how much it's weird the traffic here in this country. Like
Uh-huh.
there's traffic at 8 a.m., which is 7 a.m., 8 a.m., when people go to work, to school, whatever.
Yeah.
And then at 10 a.m., and then at 11 a.m., and it's still traffic. It's like, where where do these cars come from? You know, not only where do these cars come from, you're like, what are you guys doing? And they say Jordan doesn't have money. Like, there is money, but where are these fucking cars coming from? I know. Don't ask me why I'm commuting every like the whole day. It's amazing how I literally have never been not I've never not been stuck in traffic.
It's
Yeah.
same thing in Egypt, yeah. Like it's traffic all the time, every
Yeah.
time. But
Uh,
I
so
like your ADHD, like we were talking of the audience and now just traffic in Georgia. And I'm just like, should we talk about urban planning now?
hey man, listen. I can tell you about urban planning. Yeah, Omar, you wanted to say something?
no, yeah, because you were talking about you work at the bar, yeah. Does the
Yeah.
bar have stand-up?
No, no, no. It's just a restaurant, busy restaurant,
Ah,
food and cocktails.
damn.
Yeah.
There's no morning shift for you to work there, or
No, I think I will try to finding some another job in like January or yeah, when
Uh,
it's not busy.
and
but
I'm sorry, yeah, but my question for the special, like, because you how many out like how many minutes of material do you want to have before recording the special, I guess?
I feel like for me, I mean I'm 29 and I have this idea like I will turn 30 in August, so like 30 by 30, it
Ah,
sounds beautiful.
that's good. Yeah, yeah,
I think like yeah, that's kind of a not perfect, but it's just I write like my first 15 minutes they are very dense. It's like I have it's this Russian style I think of comedy that you have to have a joke every 15 seconds, you know.
yeah.
And it's like I think several comedians here in Norway noticed that I actually write jokes like set up punchline, and some Norwegian comedians they just kind of try to tell a story and then punchline is somewhere in like after 50 seconds, you know?
or in the
Mm.
ether, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So in my case, I don't mind my special to be short but dense, you know, or maybe first 15 minutes I know they are dense, but then it's okay for me to have a laughter once every 30 seconds, you know, or once every minute. And to be honest, I want to finish with just a sad poem without laughter at the end. That's the
yeah.
punchline
Yeah.
of my special.
Do like what is Steve Martin, where you just at the end of it you go, okay, and then you just leave the stage, yeah.
No, in my case, I want to tell a sad story and cry.
And
Hannah Gadsby style, yeah.
no,
What?
in
Hannah
Hannah
Gadsby.
Gatsby,
I don't.
in
Oh
her
shit.
case, the audience is crying because they want to leave. They were forced to go there.
No man, people like man. She's filming a third special. She filmed man. But yeah, basically like, this Hannah Gadsby. She's a comedian and
I know her, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I remember like Dave Chappelle had this. Oh shit, I'm freezing. Yeah, Dave Chappelle had this joke where he goes, I'm willing to sit with anyone in the LGBT community as long as they admit that Hannah Gadsby is not funny, because she was shitting on him for making more money than her for like three specials. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, like we already said, like comedy is subjective to whatever. But one thing which sometimes pisses me off, which are now like the Netflix specials. You know, there are so many. Did you like in your research, in your thesis, like or in your like reading about this, did you notice this like the dozens of Netflix specials that you look at them and go, how did you get on Netflix?
Hmm. No, to be honest, no. But like with Gatsby, you know, Dave Chappelle said, "Oh, she's not funny." But the point is that she is performing for another audience. Ex- So she has her own fan base. I don't know if that's like feminists or LGBTQ, right? And I don't know if that's cultural policy, Netflix policy, you know, to also promote diversity. But maybe it's actually one of the ideas that I'm developing now for my PhD is that, and I realized that stand-up comedian is also a cultural leader. It's like identity entrepreneur. So you are representing your identity and also kind of a discourse around and the relationships with other groups, you know. So you can be a guy that kind of mock others like Dave Chappelle, you know, from this heterosexual perspective, right? Or create this affiliative comedy between. So
Hmm.
that's what I'm trying to do now. If I'm joking about my friend Mohammed, he is my friend, you know?
Yeah,
Mm.
And
Right.
please don't offend Muhammad, or all of the Muhammads will come for you.
Actually, you asked me about like backup from the audience. I think I had backup when I said my joke about, yeah, like other immigrants in Norway kind of welcomed me very warmly. And I have a friend, Mohammed, and of course, he's my barber. And of course, his kebab is the best in the town, which is true, actually, which is true.
Of course.
He's really a little bit stereotypical Arab, to be honest. And then I said, once he said to me, Habibi, I'll cut your hair off on Sunday. But my stupid primitive brain thought, Habibi, I'll cut your head off, you know?
Uh,
And for me, and the joke I think didn't land that well just because it's stereotypical, you know, Islam, terrorism.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's one thing now. If we're talking about the Netflix special. You notice that is that a lot of them. It's not that they don't have punchlines, or they're just conforming to the audience, and you hear the audience cheer or laugh. You know, like,
Yeah.
and that's what kind of sometimes made me go like draw back from watching them.
Hmm.
Well, that's
It's just
oh
because
no.
you maybe don't share with them the same ideology, you know?
Yes, but at the same time, when you say, I'll give you an example, like here in Jordan, yeah, I'll be very neutral about this. When you say Israel is bad,
Yeah,
you will hear people cheer for you.
you're right.
There's nothing. People will cheer. They go, "We're-" and this
Yeah.
is what I'm talking about. How a lot of let's say, a lot of comedians, again, what we watch on like YouTube or Netflix, that's what's basically they're doing. They're just saying something. There's no, not only criticizing, there's no comedy in it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Right. I see
Well,
what you mean. There are no like jokes and devices. It's more like position, right?
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Also, like, because you say about you don't share anything with them, but like, funny is funny. Like, even if you don't agree with, like, if it's funny, you're gonna laugh, like,
Right.
subconsciously. Yeah.
But that's what we talked about. It's like, what's the definition of stand-up? Is that a guy and just who tell the jokes, or you know, or is just it's also a person who just go on stage and tell a certain position, you know?
Well, for me, it's jokes. Well, maybe
I
then everyone identifies it by
Yeah,
himself, but yeah.
like I agree with both, but at the same time, like I think it's who's the receiver and who's like the
Yeah,
deliverer. You know, like
right.
you get the receivers who just want to hear what you agree with them, or what they agree with. You
That
know,
yes, right.
like sometimes, for example, Nikolai, Omar, or Abed, we're just on stage. Just I want to tell jokes. I want to tell jokes about chairs.
Uh,
You know, and you get an audience member, like not one, many audience members who look at you and go, "Oh, chairs, this is very deep."
hmm.
You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, no, no, I just want to talk about chairs. That's all I want to
Hmm.
talk about."
Yeah, it's just like the audience have already their own understanding. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, like for me, it's also Russian comedians. They talk, they joke about chairs because, and it's also a political statement when you don't talk about politics, you know?
yeah.
And it's so they have this huge audience of people who also decided to dissociate a bit from the reality into some kind of abstract ideas, you know, chairs.
Like here's one thing that I want to ask. So, like in Norway, the audience in Norway, as you said, like you have foreigners, you have Norwegians, you have like from all over,
Yeah,
a varied, let's say, audience.
right.
Do you feel they come for stand up to laugh, or they come to stand up for just for someone to again, they agree with what they say on stage, to hear what they agree with.
I think for open mics, definitely just to laugh. But at the same time, I see a Somalian comedian who I think has his own audience, like this Somalian immigrants a
Mm-hmm.
lot, or a comedian from also first generation immigrant from Iraq, and he wrote. I don't know, like, but in Norwegian language, like also about his experience of immigration from dictatorship, and he became famous for Norway in general. So it can be both.
Mm-hmm.
So you like sometimes I remember in when like performing in Russia, we would get in English, we would get people who came for a speaking club,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and people who came with their own ideas of what a stand-up comedy show is.
Right.
Oh, they came just to speak English, and that's what I want to hear. An example, like, or they came for foreigners. Remember, like the show we did with Jania and Kamarov, me, you,
Mm,
like a long time ago,
right,
before the
remember,
pandemic.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
Shibatkov was there, right?
And what happened was one of the most interesting things for me. So after the show finished, I was standing outside and I was like, like, how do you call it? Greeting the audience, like, thank you for coming, blah, 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 and all this. Please subscribe to our Telegram or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting that uh, uh, like, I can say a lot of people came and they were like, we thought there would be more foreign comedians. And I was like, motherfucker, you just came for the superstar of comedy of Russia, you know,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for like 1/3 of the price of the ticket.
And uh but it's also, again, it's to be honest, it shows for me this Russian chauvinism that they don't recognize regional comedian like me.
Mm-hmm.
For them, I'm just Russian.
Yeah,
Bro, I'm from so far away from Moscow.
Well, also I know like the Russian audience, they when they see like the foreign comedians or like someone that doesn't look like them, they want you kind of to spoon feed them how you're not like them by like giving them like those I am this guy, so that's we have like these different like basically they want you to talk about your culture and talk about how your culture is different than their culture, and that's what they find funny.
Yeah, I'm getting so tired of it, to be honest. Like I already have like 10 minutes about me being Russian, and then I go to a workshop, and like last time I went to a workshop here, and there was again beginner comedian from Australia who was just like, "Oh, why?" And I was trying to develop a bit about something else. And he was like, "Oh, why don't you joke about your that you're Russian?"
Ah, man, yeah.
I'm just, bro,
you're
I'm
like
so.
you pull a whole like notes. They're like, here is it. You take them. Get away from me.
Yeah, I also went to a stand-up show of a one Danish guy, and his whole in Europe, it's like so much comedy about this like national
Yeah.
differences, and it's just so I don't know. For me, it's not any it's this idea of a nation is so constructed. It's been constructed from Napoleon times, and by Russia and Putin, to just put people in the boxes. And I think comedy in this case, it works as a as as a cultural tool, like Hitler, as you said, right? They use comedy to remove certain Jews, certain identities from representation, and then to construct certain identities. And in this, and in here, like the main thesis, again, is like the question was like, does stand up for social justice? And I realize, like, firstly, how the idea came to me to research that area. I read a book from some American academics in media, and the main thesis for them was like stand up and comedy has a serious role in social justice. But it was conducted in the American context where you already have the freedom of speech, right? And no one is kind of persecuted for the views. So that's why I wanted to research in the authoritarian cultural context. And then I realized that comedy is not always positive, for social justice. It's a neutral tool for social groups to sometimes it's a cultural war, sometimes it's a cultural negotiation, and sometimes it's a cultural affiliation.
Basically,
Uh,
it's like religion.
yeah, it's like it's basically you go on stage and you represent someone, you
Yeah.
know. What you said on Netflix, they are not funny. But they are representing this huge crowd. It's but it's good for democracy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think it's a good thing to show yes, like you can talk about certain things. You will not have someone telling you, don't talk about this, blah blah blah. Although in the US, well, again, this is in the US, someone speaking from outside. What I notice is people are getting this like this. You should not. You will like you get what I'm saying. You should not talk about this because for them it's you are criticizing, and there's negative criticism, there's positive criticism. And at one point, of course, it's in the beholder. It's in the eye of the beholder. Uh, they like you get people who just came for stand up to get offended.
Yes, because they think that it's about the dominant culture, Sometimes you have a dominant discourse and opinion, and if you go against that, then you would be canceled. So, and it's the mean of repression in democratic country, right? They're not gonna kill you, right? But what they would do, they would just culturally cancel you, and they would not laugh. They would just stay silent, and it's the silent treatment to punish, the person for saying something they don't agree with. It's a still cultural kind of a war for what is right.
Yeah, but
Also,
That's
but here comes to what is right.
yeah, it's exactly that's subjective. You saying that, oh, you don't have to say that. It's subjective. We negotiate what is right and what is not. What is good to say, and the values and stuff.
Omar, you wanted to
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
something?
Also, like, because you guys were talking like Netflix and stuff. Uh, I know like that Netflix has this. Well, sometimes it is just about them being different and they want to push their ideologies, and that's the whole reason why they get their uh their
No,
Netflix
And
specials.
I don't think of it that way. What I think of it in like it's the same as a gaming, the game industry. Like right now, you get games that look that they have a message, and people say, "Oh, they just put out this game just to get message." It's no, they put out this game to get money.
yeah, right.
Yeah, and
And
then
it's back and forth, like you already have a certain demand from the audience to say certain things, but then at the same time you create more of this audience. So it's a kind of it's the way I don't know propaganda works, right? You
yeah,
just create more followers through your media.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And stand-up is more like of a tool and just comedy in general to be incorporated already in the media infrastructure because it's like in the US you have a lot of like late night shows and sometimes they are independent and like political and satirical, but both I think Democrats and Republicans use humor to mock each other and to attract more attention.
Yeah.
It
No, no,
because
no.
attention is basically also the resource, that political parties are fighting for.
There's something like in your research. So why do comedians kill themselves before 40?
Kill themselves
Yeah,
before 40.
like for musicians it's before 27, for comedians it's before 40.
I've never heard of that before.
No, that a lot of comedians they like off themselves uh, like before 40, so it became kind of a running gag, let's say. Weird to say.
I yeah, I have this idea of my special, 30 by 30, and then after that maybe I will just lose the meaning of life. I'm just
Well,
like I already produced the best. I've been working on this special for 7 years, and then what's gonna be next? I will just lose every
that's
meaning.
interesting because there's a question me and Omar used to ponder, which is, as you said, you spent 7, 8 years to make this 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about comedians who put out these 5, 10 minutes? Like instantly, the moment they have a 10 minute, they just put it on YouTube.
Like after
What
two
do you think
years
of
or whatever, yeah.
yeah?
At the same time, I both hate them and respect, because like, yeah, it's more of this consistent approach that they create content and they for their audience who would then they create this basically affiliative and bond relationship because with your friend you don't have to be funny all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about being this online friend with your audience, I think. But in my case, it's just I am so perfectionist, I think, that I just can't allow myself to post this mediocre content, you know? And I
Mm.
just want my special to be perfect. That is just like that's like a statement, you know, that like that penetrates the social media, you know? But
I
at the
like
same
how you
time,
I like how you're using sex words. I like that. Continue, continue.
I didn't mean I didn't. It's your dirty mind reinterpret my similar. But yeah, it's just about different strategy, I think. I was also thinking how I want to it to be like just to post it for free, like Ivan Usachev, you know, and disappear, or like Bob Burnham. It's just or I want to try selling it on like stand up like specials comedy, you know, like Chaparyan, like this new business model.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. What's the new business model? You can
It's
like
a paywall, you know, like Louis C.K.
The Louis C.K.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first I think it was Louis C.K. who first started it.
Yes,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
right.
think so too as well.
Yeah, Artur Chaparyan borrowed that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I like about it, I'll take an example like from one of my favorite comedians, Christopher Titus. Uh, when he like put out his specials, he would
Yeah.
put them at first because he kind of like got bit in the ass, let's say. He
Mm-hmm.
made Central record his second special, and he
Mm-hmm.
regrets it to this day, like using his words, because the way they shot, the way the cameras were, plus they had a say in the editing, he didn't. So he got
Mm-hmm.
like pissed off at this. So he said, "Fuck that shit! I am gonna do my own special," which is like when he explains it, it's amazing. I can send you how. Like he has an interview with Bert Kreischer, and he explains how he does it.
Yeah.
And like what he says is he produces it, he edits it, nobody can control it, and then he puts it on his website, not for the insane amount. Even when you buy one of his specials, like from the website, the email that you get is he says, "I didn't want to sell my special to multi-million dollar corporations so that they can like take my art from me."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. And what I like, what he did was something I think not many comedians have done, is that when COVID happened, he put all his specials on YouTube for free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the thing that I bought for $10, $15, it was for free. I should have waited. But like, you know, for $10, $15, sorry, he put it for free. He's like, "Hey, here's my specials. Enjoy in the time of COVID. Like, not enjoy the time of COVID. That was
Mm-hmm.
enjoy like, while you're at home."
Right.
You know, and I think that business model, it's not like that way. I think it's very good for you to preserve your own, if I can exaggerate a little bit, your own comedic integrity,
Yeah.
you know, but not like sell out because who cares? Like imagine if Netflix comes to you for this 20 minutes and said, "Oh, here's a sum of money that can, you know, run your own country with." You'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Fuck it, I have another 20." You know?
Also, like now
Yeah.
YouTube is like I think YouTube is the move because now a lot of comedians they do their first couple of specials on YouTube, they get some traction, and then they go to Netflix. Like,
Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to also talking to Idrak Mirzalizadeh, for example, said that if you are an unknown name and try selling, it's not not gonna sell basically. So and also British comedians, what they do is they just post their special on YouTube and then they go to tour.
Do you believe this? I like this. There's a comedian, Ed Burns. He once said that for him, he's been performing for like more than 15, 20 years. He said uh, at one point in his comedy career, he realized he has no idea why the audience laugh. do you like through your research, through your like thesis, did you get any of this conclusion?
No, in my case, I think I basically, if you give me any joke and where the moment people laugh, I will be able to say why exactly.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Because it's like there are like three main theories of laughter: incongruity, maybe superiority and relief. And I
Yeah.
think that incongruity is the main law of comedy. Every every time a person laughs, there is some kind of incongruity. You just need to figure out between what and what. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. Fuck, I had like this. Ah, man, but like my idea, because we have like a lot of comedians where I perform now who get laughs, and honestly you don't know why it's getting out because the joke is not a joke even. So
It can be incongruity between the social context. That's the point. The joke is not landing. That's already incongruity. It's supposed to land. It's embarrassing by itself. It's so bad that it's funny.
for
hey,
them it's not even bad, it's funny. It's just this,
my comedy career.
it's not supposed to land and it lands. That's the
When then you should figure out why. You need to give me an example because otherwise I don't. It's
My
for you. It's not supposed to land.
you know
maybe.
what always was my point is that when in the middle of a set you have, sorry for the background music, one thing I like because this is especially in storytelling, like when you're sometimes the audience laugh at points you didn't need
Yeah,
for them to laugh. And I
right.
love that because that means that that point has a there's a joke there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But at the same time, at the beginning of the conversation about this laughter as a bonding mechanism, and we all know that in live comedy is better than online because of the contaminating effect of laughter. It's just like we are more likely to laugh when other people are laughing too. It's about the conformity and this and bonding mechanism. So,
yeah. Have you ever faced false positives?
what do you mean?
So there's sometimes when the audience is too hot,
Right. Yeah.
and they literally laugh at everything, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I have my next 5 minutes."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
go do
true.
the 5 minutes, and it just crashes and burns.
Yeah, I mean I used my best 5 minutes that was killing when the audience is warmed up, and it's a big crowd like 80 people, and then I used it for a gong show with like 50 people, but the vibe was a competition, and it was so tense. It was just like
Mm.
there were like three people in the audience with red cards racing them if a person is not funny. So
And I hate that. I really dislike that
yeah,
that system of this red card
yeah,
because we did it before. We
Uh-huh.
yeah.
got, like flags. Oh my, I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, people should be in this mood of acceptance, and believing in the character, to create this
Well, for me,
good
I think
vibe.
it's a good for me. The reason why I want a gong show where I perform is I want some comedians to like realize, hey man, write like make the punchline quicker, basically. Like, because I
What
know people who take like a minute
Mm.
for a setup, and
what
I'm like,
Omar is saying is like, hey man, you're not funny. Come to the workshop and pay me.
maybe, yeah,
No, I think we all are interested in the development of comedy and stand-up to be more accepting, because it's like, yeah, it's a poisonous idea that to think like come to the punchline faster, right? Because sometimes you want to have some room, to also give an idea and thought, right?
yeah.
And story.
Yeah,
That's
but at the
that's a
same
good
time,
point, but it's
yeah, but
also not the first joke. Like maybe if
Uh,
your first couple of jokes should be fast to like get the people on your side. Because man, now that like I started hosting now and like for example, like the last show I hosted, it was shit. Like
yeah.
I had six people leave the room, but and I did not while I was hosting, just throughout the show.
And it was 7 people, right?
Huh?
It was seven people
It
and
was
you and
7 people, 6 of them left.
only your mom left.
You're a comedian. Yeah.
No, like really, I started the hosting. I was struggling at the beginning, but then near the end I got them, and then I introduced the first comedian, and he took a while to set up his first joke,
Yeah,
and he lost the people. Second comedian
right.
struggled. Third comedian, I believe, was like Vasi Medvedev, like big name comedian. He was struggling, and then he goes, "You guys don't know anything about comedy." This got them a laugh, like a laugh. So, but
Well, the thing is that you're still like the point. I agree that yeah, sometimes there should be room like for you to tell the story, whatever. But at the same time, you're in a like stand-up comedy.
That's true.
The thing is
Yeah,
to make people laugh and
right.
to make them laugh at the beginning. Like again, this is like my thing. Is the first phrase should make them laugh, then you can do whatever the fuck you want.
I think it's also possible to, at this point, it's okay to distinguish. Sometimes, now you have different formats of the events, open mic and like in states in the Siberian stand-up, when I was there, when I left 2021, actually before going to Moscow, we only had two types of events, open mic and then test the best, tested like big stand-up show. And now they have closed microphone, they have like razgony, workshops. So you can just have a like classic stand-up with one-liners, as you say,
mhm.
where you're supposed to have a joke every 15 seconds, or you can have storytelling event. That's fine. Or
Oh yes,
you know,
but like the idea is that what we're talking about mainly is, let's say, an open mic that's advertised as a stand-up open mic. Like there's a club in Russia right now. They have a show story.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you get on stage and you tell your story. It doesn't have to be funny or not. You like it's a good story, good job, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So I think it's how you categorize that shows themselves.
True, right. But it's also like when people come to your stand-up show, use as an MC at the beginning can just explain them that everyone has 5 minutes. Some people will bomb and it's not going to be funny, but it can be interesting. Like Dave Chappelle said, right? You don't have to be funny all the time, but you have to be interesting.
Oh, definitely.
I'll use that next time I host. Actually, people are not gonna be funny.
Yeah, like it's the role of the host is also to create this affiliated to unite the room. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you because yeah, the our goal is to have laughter together, right? Right now. And if you have attitude like an asshole, right, to judge the comedian, then no one would enjoy it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you kind of supportive, it's again a contaminating uh,
Yeah.
feature of comedy, right? Sometimes, also one revelation that people are not able to recognize if the laughter is fake. Most likely, if you, for example, is someone like also now I realize that if I hang out with people who are not comedians and they just tell something unfunny, uh, I still try to laugh,
Oh,
together with them, right?
oh,
Whatever.
so nice. I don't, man.
I don't as well.
You are depriving yourself of well-being and close relationship with that.
Well,
There's
then
this.
that explains why I have a kalyan, a shisha next to me.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have
There's this.
friends, bro.
There's this thing I use when someone tells me like a not funny story that what's his name? Norm Macdonald used to say, which is like people tell me something supposed to laugh, and I go, "Wow, that's not interesting."
Yeah, you see, it's funny in this context, but also one of the before I became comedy scholar,
Uh-huh.
I thought that every laughter is cool, and I was trying to bring this aggressive and self-deprecating laughter humor in my real life. But then I realized, and also there's a paper that says that aggressive humor style does not correlate with positive relationships in real life. And also self-deprecation is correlated to depression. So I decided to completely separate my real life persona from my stage persona after that.
Then get yourself a therapist. I get it.
And yeah, and it's really I mean, my well-being because of that is better. My relationships are better because I always have this problem that people don't understand that I'm joking and that I was ironic, you know.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember there was
you
once
remember.
someone, I remember there was once someone who was telling me, Nikolai is always serious. I was like, well, yeah, you know, no, man.
That,
This is what he does.
yeah, exactly, because of the deadpan. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I remember, like, to this day, there's one comedian, well, not one, a couple of North Americans who, to this day, like, hate you and think you're such a dick. And
North Americans, as if I know who you're talking
well,
about,
there are
bro.
two. There are two.
Two? Okay, who is the
Two.
second?
Well, the
Dave
second is also
Chappelle and
and
Justin
Hannah
Bieber.
Gatsby. No, no, but like no, like the two of them are North Americans, have similar names, and they always tell me he was too serious and too mean, and I'm like, no, no, he wasn't. He was just trying to be funny. Maybe it didn't land, but he was trying.
That was just super ironic. Yeah, exactly. You just you are playing this sitcom character, but you're not main character in your real life, you know, who yeah, so you need to read the room and basically.
Actually, I remember one reason why they thought you're being ironic, which is one time like a comedian posted something on like the comedians chat, and you said, "Okay, cool," and he was pissed about it, and I'm like really?
You know what I call this? This is what I like to call ego.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
I
also
think
ego, yeah.
ego, for me, ego is really, it's the antithesis of stand-up comedy. That's for me.
That's a different, you know, for me, it's like I am both self-deprecating and I don't have ego myself. So I roast other people and I feel like it's congruous, you know, it's not hypocritical. But then there are other type of comedians who only joke and roast others, you know, and they don't joke about themselves, you know?
I wanted to ask you, like, you notice, like for me, how I noticed a lot about Russian comedy is it's a lot of self-deprecating to the point where it becomes, come on, like I get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about in Norway? What did you like? Is there something like this? Something that they use too much, as in like self-deprecating, like too much, for example, self-deprecating, or too much of one thing.
Yeah, I think they don't use too much self-deprecation. Yeah, it's more positive, definitely, I think. Yeah.
But mostly
Okay.
stories, yeah.
It's mostly, yeah, I mean, of course, they use stereotypes that Norwegians are cold
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and it's definitely less aggressive humor. I think I really like Russian humor is also so aggressive against like fat shaming, you know, and um, so it's less here, things like that.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and one last question, Omar. Do you have anything else to add? I have one last question for
Okay,
you.
you go.
Nikolai, what's your advice for comedians?
Oh, damn, bro.
I'm waiting.
Huh? Avoid.
We're waiting.
We're waiting, yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the first thing to learn is actually comedic devices and the tools, because like every joke has a certain device and tool, and it's like you know, it's like when you go to train jiu-jitsu or boxing, you learn the basics first, right?
Mm-hmm.
To actually write the joke, because so many comedians try to theorize and create theory in general, like, you know, dramaturgy, character, instead of actually writing a joke. First, you learn that, and then um, other stuff.
I remember actually I love telling the story. It just you reminded me of it, which is a comedian, well, not comedian, person who used to perform with us. You know her. Like one time, she texted me like, "How did I do in the open mic?" And I'm like, "You didn't have any punchlines." And she got pissed. So like next week, she goes to the open mic. And this is just how she starts the show. She goes, "One comedian told me I don't have any punchlines, and I don't think comedy is about having punchlines. It's about taking the audience on an emotional roller coaster. You have to be sad, then happy, blah blah blah." and she bombed. I'm like, that's why I told you I don't have punchlines. It's like,